Hello, Leah. Hello, everyone. We are here today to talk about a very important issue and one that's very difficult for a lot of patients suffering with stiff person syndrome, and that is travel. It includes lots of things that we don't like, unanticipated circumstances, etc. So some people don't even travel or, avoid it altogether. I know that recently, Leah, you had some travel that got interrupted, and then you went ahead and traveled after that. And I'm very curious to know what happened and then how did you get going? Because we never got there. So I think the whole community would like to know, actually.
So, first of all, hi, Ilea. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this episode. Uh, yes, I thought that it was important to talk about what's been happening in the last months in terms of my traveling and sharing it in more details with everyone because I think I learned a couple of things and I also want to share in more details what happened. Um, I've had new symptoms. My neurological system is going completely off the rails, and I was I had the intention to travel to Gambia a few weeks back, and I had one of those episodes because we're going to call them episodes as we don't know what they are yet. And I lost consciousness in Beirut airport, and I got woken up uh, full of water because someone had thrown a water bottle on me, and people screaming and shouting. And as you can imagine, airports with lights, uh, people, sound, all of these things, and be completely disorientated when I was woken up from that episode. Um, it was a terrible experience. It was quite traumatic. And to be honest, after that, it took me 2 days to actually recover. I slept for 2 days. I disappeared from everything. And also, what happened was that I had to face the reality that until we know what those episodes are and they are under control and do not happen, I am no longer allowed to travel alone. Um, why is this harsh for me? Because I am handicapped. That is the truth. I cannot walk without my cane, even if I have some stabilization in my SPS. But that means that when I travel and do take the courage to travel, and I do say courage because I think that a lot of people are scared to travel, but
Mhm.
could travel potentially. It just takes a lot of preparation and it takes trusting in yourself and preparing for the noise, the light, the the wheelchair treatment. I'll get to that in a second. Uh, but I've traveled alone with diagnosed SPS to come see my husband, and after that episode, I had my parents, interfere and come and tell me you're not allowed to travel alone anymore. I felt like I had an added handicap. It was like I am not allowed to do something by myself anymore. It, it was a horrible feeling to the point where even like it was questionable whether I could travel at all to the place I was meant to travel to, the second place I was meant to travel to for a special occasion with people traveling with me. And I had to fight, and told them, please take me with you and let's see where this gets us. And I'm glad I did because so I traveled uh, with people. Uh, and
Babysat. We call it babysat.
yes,
We
baby
don't
step,
like it. I'm like, are you being babysat? We.
baby,
So yeah, the
baby
rebellious
step.
girl. Go ahead.
Sorry, the rebellious girl got babysat. Uh, So, I'm prepared, my glasses, my headphones. I've put several videos on the triggers of airports on
Mhm.
BNB, and the trip goes well. Thankfully, no episodes. And then I arrive, wheelchair treatment coming out of the airplane. I have told everyone surrounding me the way I have been treated in most airports as someone who has SPS, who doesn't necessarily look sick, but that has a cane, clearly can show that I walk with a very stiff leg and very stiff torso. But if you judge by the look of my face, again, for the wheelchair company, there's nothing wrong with me. They usually think I have a broken leg or I'm recuperating from something.
Mhm.
So it was very interesting because I used to get very angry because you get thrown from wheelchair to wheelchair to wheelchair 4 times before you actually exit the airport. Okay. And like you said, rebellious Leia and all these traits. It was very calm when we landed in London. People traveling with me went insane. How can you be treated like this? Why are they so unfair? Why are they so mean? Why can't they use one wheelchair? And I just sat down and nodded. And when we came out, I was like, guys, I've been telling you this for the last 2 years. And I realized something, which made me realize something in general. When someone who loves you experiences what you describe, it is completely different than when you describe it to them and they don't experience it, because half of the message is lost. And I realized that I had accepted how I'm being treated, even though I think it's despicable and it's horrible and we should not be treated like this. But, raising awareness for that topic will come one day. But I mean,
Mhm.
I've accepted it. I've accepted that if I get angry, I might spasm. If I get angry and stressed, I might fall because it's happened before. So I know what's coming. So I just accept it. But people who were traveling with me had to experience it firsthand.
Yeah.
And this applies to so many things in life, I think, with SPS. And it taught me a big, valuable lesson. First of all, that people who do love you and travel with you, even though, they had to experience it with me, if they defended me so much that I have to give them a big shout out and a big thank you. But I made it. I made it. I courageously convinced everyone that
Mm.
despite everything, I would go to London. So I went to London. It was, like I said, a very peculiar traveling experience, very enlightening traveling experience in terms of understanding how the world around me functions. Uh, we learn every day. We learn every day. I'm more mobile, but I'm
Mm.
in so much pain. And I've mentioned this before, and I think we've spoken about this before. And when I was first diagnosed, I really wanted people to understand my pain. And that traveling experience, when the people around me finally realized the mistreatment in the wheelchairs, I understood that no one is ever going to understand my pain because no one is going to live my pain. So it was, it was, it was, it was enlightening. That's the best word I can
Yeah.
use.
It, it's hard even listening to you because even though I think I'm taking it right, is that your summation is that in totality it was a positive experience. Is that right? Fair to say?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
it was.
good.
And I think everyone should try to be as positive. And I encourage people to have the courage as much as they can prepare themselves if they're scared to you know, prepare, be accompanied, but not to stop traveling because they're only scared. Because
Right.
I think we're getting to the next part of this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was just gonna maybe ask you, like, what was your takeaway? But that is really what it is. I think what I'm hearing is that travel is sort of like this, really intensified version of what we go through on a daily basis, spread out through years. And then suddenly, and with a loved one or caretaker seeing it, because it takes that to get that empathetic vibe. Sometimes some people have to see it with their own eyes. And travel does that, puts them in that situation where they're next to you, where they're either standing back or they're advocating, or all those positions are hard to be in. They're judgment calls for them too. So I hear that you're saying it's an intensified version, and they're seeing, I mean, pain, rigidity, being transferred from wheelchair to, I'm looking at a new shower chair over there but so that we know how hard it is to transfer, even though we look, like you said, we might not look like it looks like it's hard for us to transfer. It is. So things like that become super intense, super encapsulated. So don't not do it, but know that it's going to be intense, either for yourself or maybe for the people that you're traveling with. If it's to a new destination or I was taking trains for so long, train to New York, this and that I thought I was kind of good on travel. And then my first plane ride, a few years after diagnosis, it made me, once bitten, twice shy. I was like, I can't fly anymore. A new handicap, as you said, can't fly anymore. I remember how devastated I felt. It's something about the pressure change in the cabin. It doesn't do well for me. And I really pity the person that's sitting next to me. But that was years ago. And like you, rebellious Leah, I said, I am going to fly again. And of course I did when it go, and I will do it whenever like necessary. So the doctor in me wants to just make a warning that don't do anything that is inherently risky with your treatments, or depending on what you're being treated with, how you are mobile, like your mobility time. Don't take unnecessary risks to places that might not be able to accommodate you medically. But otherwise, be courageous. Am I getting that right? Would you
Completely.
say?
And I support everything you just said. And that was exactly my message. I was just trying to put my courage out there and hope that it reaches some people in our audience, and that uh, when there's a will, there's a way. And and I made it. And
And you're safe and you're here.
well, I'm
You're
at
where
my
you
second
are. Where are
destination now. So I'm safe. And again,
one?
the second flight also, someone else. Uh, very difficult, very difficult. I think
Why?
because very difficult to let go of that autonomy and really feel like you need someone to push you around and to help you. And this is a very positive conversation we're having, and I'm trying to give out all the positiveness. But there's also
Hmm.
a big realization of this is real. This is real because we look so unreal.
Okay. Yeah.
And okay, I mean, I use unreal because I was using
Yeah.
this real, but I mean, and that does do something to you, but in a good way. In a good way,
Yeah.
it makes you move on and accept things faster and
It does.
be at peace with yourself a little bit more. Because we tend to bash ourselves a little bit too much.
We do.
I'm the
Uh,
first one.
and piggybacking off of that, I used to much more, not just, I used to use a lot of, now looking back, things that were trying to diminish myself, like to, not, wear sunglasses inside because it makes people feel weird or not, but they were good for, it was great for my photosensitivity, but not good for people's comfort in a conference room. And I did everything to, even right now, I want to, oh, sorry guys. I
Oh,
wanted to just, yep, this had to, I wanted to do that. Didn't because I felt it was inappropriate on a live video. So that's the reality of SPS. And you have to sort of not diminish yourself if you want to. I used to, I think, and Leia would probably have a lot of stories like this, but I've tried it all, don't wear tinted chapstick so they think that you're more, pink than you are. Don't, you know, uh, I've tried to look, like we would say, we've tried to look as, gross as possible. Nothing helps. So what you are will come through beyond anything that you can try to fake. You are who you are, and people pick up on each other's, true nature. And so rock on with who you are. Don't diminish because I've wasted years doing that. And now I just present as I am on that day. And if it's to an airport, I know that I'm going with my cane, but I know I'm going to need the wheelchair. So it's about, accepting it and not feeling bad about it. So and if you have to be babysat, you have to be babysat, and you have to mourn that loss if it's a loss. And then you have to, if it's a temporary loss, maybe it can be renegotiated in the future. I've been known to pull that. So nothing, nothing needs to be decided on that day for the rest of the days because each of our days are quite different. So I'm I'm personally inspired to not be afraid of travel because I am still. That's something I always have to process. But yeah, we're gonna travel, guys. If you need to do it at first, and then as you get better, if you want to do it. So
that's the message I really wanted to convey today,
thank you.
especially that it was a roller coaster ride. But I'd like to end on a positive note. So, uh, my nervous system is all over the place. I have sub nervous system problems and sicknesses everywhere. Uh, I'm stiff as a rock constantly. And believe it or not, guys, whether it shows on this face or not, I am in pain. But there is one thing that has improved, and I saw it when I was on my trip to London. And it's somehow, despite the fact that I'm in pain and stiff, which I never thought would be possible because it's for me contradictory in terms, but apparently it is not. I was more mobile. I managed to walk a little bit with my cane and not just go from my apartment to the car
Mhm.
and to the car, my parents' house or a friend's house, etc., etc. And that, despite all the difficult things that I know we're both going through, and that I'm sure most SPS patients are going through, I wanted to share, you know, that little spark that made my trip special and that made me feel hopeful because you need a little positive to keep fighting. And that was the positive of the trip.
I love it. I love that. I'm gonna travel more safely, but be less afraid.
Well, I'm
And I
going to
hope
hold
that
you to that.
message rings out. Yes, she will hold me to it, like literally. But the rest of you, if you're on your own, you've got to be your own cheerleader. And then I think you'll find that your caretakers kind of catch on to your vibe. It's a hard thing to shift from complaining to being constructive or to venting to the person who will accept it and not to the caregivers or all that kind of stuff. So, this neatly folds into all the stuff we talk about because travel, at the end of travel, can be wonderful things, music, comedy, and things that we love. So Yeah, great message. Thank you so much for sharing. I wanted to ask you one-on-one, but then I'm so glad that we thought just let's film it. So thank you for sharing your personal story.
Thank you for asking me the questions and for, you know, doing this with me. So guys, this is going to be the last episode for 2023, and we'll be back in 2024. And promise, we'll address all the topics that have been sent to us
Hmm.
starting 2024. I guess we both wish you a season's greetings and Happy New Year. And let's hope 2024 is a year for stiff person syndrome in terms of research and advancement and more
Dollars. Yeah.
dollars.
Dollars for R&D.
Uh-huh.
That's what's gonna save us. But yeah, happy holidays and happy new year.